Hey, roofing contractor. So let's talk about ERPs because the term is coming up far frequently than I've probably ever heard the term before. And when I think ERP, I think like manufacturing company in a true system that was installed over multiple years, millions of dollars, lots of pain, but the end goal is that one system does everything. Now, this is raw, unfiltered, just my thoughts. I've been in this space since 2010, and I've seen a lot of software implementations, specifically with commercial roofing contractors. And I've seen the tech evolve over the last 15 plus years. Been a part of successful onboardings, been a part of some nasty ones, been a part of everything in between. When I think ERP in today, I think of a suite of products that all work in harmony. And I think that's ultimately what contractors want. It's never going to be one system fits everything. But I want to break this down and kind of talk through it a little bit more methodically. How commercial roofing contractors should think about ERP decisions. Maybe it's a term you heard, you've been deeply invested in figuring it out and what it means for your business, or maybe it's something that you just heard of and you want to try to figure it out. Well, first off, it's really not for everybody. I do not believe ERPs are for every contractor. I do believe when you reach a certain size, it becomes a necessity to have a fully integrated tech stack. But when you're starting off and even thinking about what to look at, I mean, it's a lot to digest, let's be real. And the reality is the roofing business is extremely complex. And it's not necessarily just about the software, it's about really analyzing the entire company and how information flows from department to department and ultimately ends up in your accounting program so you can reconcile and close things out. And of course have visibility across the entire flow. So why are ERPs so overwhelming in commercial roofing? Most contractors do not wake up wanting an ERP. I mean, let's be real. You wake up wanting better visibility. You want the constraints removed from your team. You want solutions that are going to work for 2x, 5x, 10x additional sales. Or you want current technology. Maybe we're still operating out of Excel and PowerPoint and Sumo Quote and Company Cam, a hodgepodge of different software solutions. We want less systems. We want them to work together. Makes sense. But the problem is traditional ERPs, they force conversations on everything all at once. And if you think about it, that's going to include sales and CRM. That's going to include how we estimate. How do we manage service? How do we manage projects? How do we manage accounting, HR, payroll, reporting, data migration, integrations, change management? And that's a lot, especially if the company's actively growing. It almost makes it so the decision of when to move and what to move to is just delayed, it's prolonged, so we're not really making any changes because we know we have one big change happening. Well, I'm here to kind of tell you my opinion and how I think it should go in a modularized approach. I think the biggest mistake contractors make when choosing an ERP is they start with the back end. They start with accounting and then kind of work forward. What does that look like? Well, the accounting team makes a decision on what the ERP is going to be, and the rest of the company has to adopt it. And what happens then? Well, we have limited choices for what's even compatible with a NetSuite, an Acumatica, right? A Sage Intact. It takes longer to implement than expected because if we're starting at the accounting side, well, guess what? We got to get the accounting program set up. We got to get it configured. And then we have to start choosing the pieces for the rest of the business. So it takes a long time. I've seen it. In reality, this type of approach, it leads to teams waiting for their software changes. While they're waiting, they're stuck using the processes that are possibly outdated in the meantime. And by the time it does come to them, the software isn't chosen based on what works for them. It's based on what's compatible for the accounting program. And that's not a software issue. I think it's an approach issue. So here's a better way to think about it. Front end first. What does that mean? Well, when I say front end, I'm talking about what happens in the field to what happens in the office back to the customer. That's front end. And what's involved in all of that? Well, we got lead management. We have to hand off sales. We have to estimate. We have to coordinate service. We have to get visibility for projects. We have to communicate with our customers. That's a lot of front-end activities. That's what pays the bills. We can figure out how to count the money, right? But we need to do all the front-end activities to even get the money to begin with. A front-end ERP approach focuses on understanding how leads flow and become jobs, right? Standardizing how information moves between the different departments, creating visibility before the financials are even reconciled. I think that's a really big one right there. How about this? Feeding data, clean data downstream, so by the time it does hit accounting and payroll and inventory, it's accurate. So think in systems, not necessarily software at this point in time. A front-end operational system is going to include sales, estimating, service, projects, customer portal, for example. We need to also have an accounting system, an Acumatica, Sage, Intacct, NetSuite, etc. And we need to have specialized tools that integrate cleanly. So this isn't one massive mission to get one program that does everything kind of poorly. It's a modularized approach to have one source of truth that's connected to the best-in-class financial tools. So why does modularity matter? And what do I mean by this? Well, your business today is not your business in 5 years from now. What's it going to look like? How's it going to grow? What's it going to change to be? And I think that's why flexibility matters. So a modular approach allows contractors to start with what they need now, add functionality as the company grows, get something that works today, now, and into the future, reduce the risk during the implementation, because we can get results immediately if we start at the front of the business today. And we know that our system we choose will work with whatever accounting program we want to work with at the end of the day. Integrations, right? So what's the role of integrations? An open API. So no system should live alone on an island. So when you're evaluating these different options, contractors should ask, does this integrate with my accounting program? Can it push and pull data cleanly? Is there an open API? Is it going to limit future technology decisions? Integration capability is what turns software into an infrastructure. And the best systems, they don't try to replace everything, they connect everything. Customer visibility, it's no longer optional. Modern customers expect visibility. I mean, let's face it, younger generations are now sitting behind desks making decisions on behalf of these buildings. And this generation that I'm talking about grew up with instant satisfaction, right? I can order stuff on Amazon and it shows up sometimes the same day. Netflix, Hulu, right? PayPal, cryptocurrency, you name it, we have instant satisfaction. So this generation needs to see things digitally, needs to see building history, needs to be able to access all work orders completed, all building projects that have been completed, warranty information, all that should be digitally available. Of course, paper-backed is always good to have. So if your ERP strategy does not include a client-facing component, you're already behind. So anyway, final thoughts. I don't suggest starting with an accounting program to implement your ERP and work backwards. I think you should start at the front end of the company, which we know CenterPoint handles the lead to estimate to jobs sold, the service components, the production components, all the photo taking, the data management, the history. We handle that whole world. We integrate with any system with our open APIs. We work with ERP backends such as NetSuite, Acumatica, Sage Intacct, Foundations, you name it. So again, front end of the business, knowing that we can integrate with the back end of the business. These are my thoughts. Thanks for listening.